Wednesday, February 12th, scheduled to start at 5 p.m. Can we call the meeting to order? Can we have a roll call, please?
Bob Zurich, John Freitag. There he is. Just in
He
time.
always does that.
Bob Kleppel,
Here.
Kevin Creedy. Here. Tessie Steffens,
Here.
Sparky Stuckenschneider, Jeannie Miller-Wood, Dave Waymeyer,
Here.
Betty Werner,
Here.
Gavin Woolley,
Here.
Al Bear, and Jeff Peck. Here.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You've all received a copy of the minutes from December 11th. Our January 8th meeting was canceled. I need to have an approval of first and a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Gavin and a second by Betty. All in favor?
Aye.
Park and Recreation's Director's Report.
Okay, I have a lot, but the rest of the stuff on the old business and new business, we can probably get through pretty quickly, because a lot of it's flyers that you received in your packet. But since we didn't meet last month, I have a number of updates I'm gonna give you. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. One of the biggest ones happened at the end of the year, and since we didn't have a January meeting, I wasn't able to tell you about it, but we had an anonymous donor donate a substantial amount of money to the park system, and that money will be used. We were a little short, and I'll have the rendering to you probably next month. I made a note here. A little short in the budget on redoing the Flag Plaza at the riverfront. And it was Park Board's, this commission's idea to install a memorial brick plaza down there, which we are going to do. But in conjunction with the Trail Connection grant, where the trail actually runs through there around that plaza and everything, we wanted to just kind of do an overhaul of that plaza. The plaza was installed, I think, in about 1990, so there hasn't been any updates since it's been installed, so it's definitely due. I know the Lions Club, I haven't talked to them in a little while, but they seemed interested in participating in that project also, because that was their project back in 1990. So we have $75,000 in the budget for the renovation of the Flag Plaza. My estimates, I was short at least $25,000 on doing that. I was going to have to solicit donations from Lions Club and different other organizations, but I won't have to do that anymore. I mean, we'll still get the Lions Club involved, but we should be set for that project, and that project will be done, I think you've heard me talk about it, in conjunction with the Trail Connection, the actual Trail Connection piece. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2 of that grant, and so I'll talk about phase 1 here in a minute. But the actual installing of the trail is phase 2, and that would begin later this fall, next fiscal year, so after October 1st. Related to that project, there's a couple trees down there at Riverfront Park that had to be removed in order to install the trail. And due to the specific bat population in the area, if you're going to remove trees per this grant, they have to be done in the wintertime or all the way up until, I think you have until March to do it. And so this week, we removed 2 trees that we could get to from the pavement, the catawba tree in the parking lot, which was completely hollowed out, and then a maple tree that was not in good shape at the corner of the parking lot near the Waterworks building. And there's still, we couldn't get to the other 2 or 3 trees that need to come out. They're much smaller than those 2 that I just mentioned. But due to the wet ground, we weren't able to get to them. But we will get to them this winter before time expires. Next on the list, you're aware that we had several fires at the Cole Miller House back towards the end of the year, and we're working with the Historical Society on restoration. It's not going to be cheap. One estimate we had was $10,000 to restore all that get all the smoke off everything, because there's a lot of furniture in there that doesn't even belong to us, that the Historical Society has in there, and different pieces that have been donated to the Historical Society put in there. And so, and that was just for the smoke restoration. We still have to get the window that was all burned out. The wood frame of the window was all burned out. We still have to get that fixed. So we're slowly but surely getting some estimates in on that. I'm happy to report, finally, I can cross this off the list, the new Riverfront parking lot project is completely finished. The lights are on. It looks like a real parking lot now, except for all the big piles of snow down there still. But I can finally cross, that one seemed like the project that would never end. Next month, engineering's working on a exhibit for me to show you guys a nice pretty picture, kind of like we did with the tree planting on First Parkway a couple years ago. We're tree board approved, and then I would bring it to you all here, but I want to have it on a prettier picture, or prettier exhibit, I should say. A tree plan, bank stabilization for the riverfront. So from the west trail, just a little west of the low water bridge, planting trees spaced out every so many feet along the bank all the way down to the parking lot, like where the kiosk is, just, about there. And then even where the new parking lot is on the east trail there, trees around that area too. Now both of these areas came up in the park master plan as areas that we should address with trees. And so our arborist, Josh Wargo, and I, and tree board worked on like the specific, and Gavin can attest to this, and Dave too, since they're on tree board, worked on specific varieties that would look, nice in the fall, nice in the spring, that we'll be able to limb up so you can kind of see under them from Front Street, that type of thing. So we'll review that next meeting in March, when that exhibit gets completed. Greenway, Bush Creek Greenway, we're getting signage, trail etiquette signage out, I should say. A couple benches, doggy bag stations, trash can or two, so we're trying to make it look like a real trail. So most of that stuff got out this week before the snow. As probably many of you saw, and I saw it myself, back, I think it was February 6th, MDC with our CAP agreement at Lions Lake, they were able to sink approximately 100 Christmas trees in Lions Lake for fish habitat, and that was all free of cost. It was Christmas trees that came in at the recycling compost center are ones that the street department picked up on the Christmas tree recycling day, and then MDC and my staff, the park staff, assisted tying them all together and tying the cinder blocks to them. And now we're just waiting for them to fully sink. I think that shocked quite a few people on Facebook from what I saw. And despite what the one guy is saying about us doing this to, Shirley, you saw that, that we did this project to detour the guys that are going out there doing the net fishing, that was not the case.
I think I explained it to you.
That was pretty comical. So that was good, that's one of our benefits of being in that program, so it was free.
I was able to talk to the MDC gentleman,
Oh, Buck.
and he was very informative, and,
Yeah.
and, the lake's not very deep.
No,
18 feet at the deep end, and there by pavilion number 2, where there are, trees out from there. He said that's only 5 feet there.
yeah, I believe
So
it.
there's silting going on.
Yeah, there's some work that needs to be done in the near future, and that's one of the reasons, if you remember, I wanted to get into this agreement, because they'll be able to assist us in the right direction with technical advice and pointing us in the right direction for grants and things like that, and cost shares,
Yeah,
possibly cost share stuff.
He also mentioned, some plannings to be done,
Mm-hmm.
kind of control silt coming in.
Yep. Yep. So, yep, more to come on that. I'm happy to report, and I think Betty, you might have been just talking about it with Darren, he told me to make sure, this came up last week, or last council meeting, we were in department head, and I know many of you asked about a sidewalk on East Fifth Street, near the Bush Creek Greenway, so there'll be one coming down the hill from, like, say where Hillerman's Drive is there, starting about there where that new subdivision is going in, all the way down the hill, over the bridge, and then we'll stop there at Old 100 where our trail crossing is, where the crosswalk
Right.
is.
Okay.
So,
Good deal.
yeah.
Is the city putting that in or the developer?
I believe this, I believe the city is with a grant, I believe.
That'll be with the Fifth Street improvement.
That helps.
Just like everything else we do, when we get 80/20 cost share for streets, Third Street, Jefferson Street will be next. Jefferson Street will have a sidewalk. In order to meet those MoDOT 80/20 grant, you have to have that sidewalk on the side, so that's part of the deal. There's some right-of-way, Darren can speak to that.
For your instructions, I'm informing them about the sidewalk that's going in on East Fifth Street, like from Hillerman's down the
Yes.
hill.
There's an application that is in. Do you want me to,
No,
Yeah.
you're not.
would you like me to come?
Yes, we would.
Sure.
We would. And we'd like you to state your name,
Address?
right, and state your name because it's being
I
recorded.
understand, I understand.
And your credentials.
There is yes, there's an application that we submitted. It's an STP application to East West Gateway for East Fifth Street improvements. We had submitted one a couple of years ago, and we just requested too much. It didn't score enough points to go ahead and be awarded at that time. So Charles and I discussed, what needed to be changed with that. In short, what we're trying to do for that is from the signal on down to the bridge would be widening, or not widening, but a turn lane in the middle of Fifth Street for turning movements to
Okay.
go ahead and either into the apartments or Brookview or whatever, down to the bridge, and that there would also be a sidewalk built. And this is where I lost a little bit. I can't remember exactly the sidewalk. I know there was one from, on
Be
the,
from Hillerman's to the
Thank you.
bridge on the east side, and then across the bridge, it'll cross Fifth
perfect,
Street.
thank you. He's got it all right here.
Oh,
So, yes, there'd be one from the second, or the northernmost entrance into the multifamily development. From there, going down to, onto the bridge and down to Old Highway 100, and then an entire sidewalk on the west side of East Fifth Street from 100 all the way down to Old 100. So,
They'll be on both sides of the road?
on a portion of it, yes.
Sorry, I didn't see that, so my mistake.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
I didn't know that.
So definitely from on the west side of Fifth Street, which would be the car wash side,
Right, right.
from Willows, I'm sorry, I said all the way to 100, I shouldn't have said that. From Willows Court, where it turns into the car wash area, from that spot, all the way north up to Old Highway 100, and then on the east side of East Fifth Street, from the northernmost entrance into there's two entrances that'll go into that multifamily development.
And they're the entrances that are there now
Yeah,
that they're,
you see them
okay,
there
okay,
today.
all right,
Yeah,
just to be
So
sure.
from that northern entrance, then also to Old Highway 100. So from that stretch, all the way, there'll be sidewalks on both sides of the road. Okay?
And a light, you said? And a light?
Well, that's another application.
Oh, okay.
It's another
okay.
different application to add turn lanes. Now, you're getting way off the Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
Just asking.
citizens of
But
East
that's
Fifth
okay.
Street.
I know if I say it now, then I maybe not have to repeat it later. No, the dual left turn lanes for eastbound onto 100, and I think a dedicated right turn lane to go westbound on 100.
Okay.
Significantly increase the ability of the
Right.
signal there to go ahead and carry more traffic and not have as many queues backed up.
Yeah.
But that construction is probably slated for 2028, so, just so you know.
And then finally, in my report, we had another very successful daddy-daughter dance last Friday at the city auditorium. Robin always does a very nice job with that, and lots of good pictures. There was a number of good pictures in the newspaper, and a lot of happy girls, and hopefully some happy dads too.
Okay. Any questions so far? Any communications from the audience? I don't see that's going to happen. Okay. Old business, the park master plan update?
Yes, so thanks to everyone that attended the public meeting back on January 30th. I was obviously not able to attend, but from what I heard, Darren did a good job of being the parks director. There weren't too many negative comments that I know of. But I know PDS, the master plan firm, was very happy with the turnout. I mean, I know they told me, like there's other much larger municipalities in St. Louis that have done this, and with a lot more, even they have a lot more parkland than us and have a lot more amenities, and would only have, something like that. They might have 5 people turn out to a meeting like that. So good attendance. The report I got back, the summary, it was all good stuff. A lot of stuff we've already been working on, PDS and myself had already been working on in the plan. So it's good that we can kind of gauge the public to an extent from comments I've heard over the years I've been here and things like that. I do have to say, I want to note that when I left to go to Colorado, there was no mention in the report of a digital sign at 100 and International, and I would never have put that in there. I want that on the record. So when I got the comment, I was like, what is this? And then I talked to Sandy Lucy about it. I think I may have talked to Gavin about it. And so there won't be a digital sign at 100.
Yay.
Well, I have a question, because I did have some people on the park board ask me this as well. Is it possible for the park board, or I think we should, as a park board, get together and discuss all the different projects, and either, I don't know, prioritize them, like you said, or that's a good idea, or that idea is never going to work, and I know we're waiting on costs, and then I know that it's going to go on to the half-cent sales tax, or we're going to have to prioritize our top 3 or top 5 or whatever. But I do think as a board, because there's a lot of money invested in it, that for some people who were unable to come, and then for us that were able to go, we'd like to talk about some of the things that were presented. So it might mean that we have a special meeting where we just sit down and talk about those items. But I would like to see that happen before the money's all attached. Not that they still can't attach all the money, but I think that there's some prioritization that this board needs to do as well. Just, again, they're all suggestions.
Right. So just to be clear, we'll only have a few, I guess, projects, if you will, and they're all building related, that will have like price tags attached to it, or rough estimates attached to them. It's like Park Shop, Old Pool House renovation, City Auditorium. The other 2 are Miller Post Cabin and Cole Miller. But those last 2 they're having a hard time even coming up with numbers for some of those last 2. The rest of them are, like you said, kind of thoughts, concepts, potential projects, that type of thing. So I didn't know, Gavin, we had a short conversation about this recently, right after the public meeting. And at that time, I didn't know I think it was like 2 days after that public, when I got back to work that next week, I had a teleconference set up with PDS on just getting caught up on what happened at the public meeting and everything like that. And so at that meeting, and I was going to talk about that next, is when I found out that he'll have a document, a draft of the final document to me, to us, the city, on March 14th. Now, the whole project's, they're going to have the document finalized in April, in preparation for the half-cent sales tax, coming up this summer. So once I get that document, if possible, I can email it out, but we could also have a special meeting in addition, because it may be too late to have it at our April meeting.
Right,
'cause It's
right.
supposed to be approved, supposed to be finished sometime in April. And so they're also part of the cost, and we haven't really discussed this yet, but part of it is, in what they gave us initially, is that they would do a presentation to city council also as like their final task,
Right.
if you will. And so when I get it on March 14th, we can start looking at it, and if we want to have a special meeting at the end of March, very beginning, probably end of March, really, we should do that, and we can kind of,
I think we should do it.
it's gonna be a big document, so, I mean, it's
Right.
gonna be thick, so if I could email it out, you guys could start reading it or looking at it, and then we could have a special meeting once you've had a chance, a couple days to look at it and go through it that way.
I think that's a good idea.
I like the idea of us as a board or a commission, whatever you want to call it, getting together and, I like this, I don't like that. We're spending a lot of money to have this master plan developed, and I think we as a commission, ought to have, some major input.
No, I would agree.
I think you definitely go ahead and have the meeting at the end of March and go ahead and take a look at all of those items. As Wayne said, you don't have price tags on everything, because, that would up the cost, because KAI, that was just an added cost for them to give us some kind of cost estimate
Right.
on some of these projects. We knew that some of the items, we did want those estimates as we went in to the sales tax committee so that they would be aware of that. Just a couple of footnotes. One, on the pool house, we're looking that we're gonna be able to go ahead and do those improvements on this existing sales tax
Right.
that we have now. That's not something we're gonna rely upon and go to the committee. We hope to go ahead and have that. As a matter of fact, Wayne just put it out for request for qualifications for design services. It's out right now, so we've directly solicited some of the firms that we've used in the past to go ahead and come up with the design for that. And that project right now is looking at somewhere about $500,000 on that for those renovations. It's a little bit less than what we had originally heard, so that was kind of good news, and we looked to see that we had that. Of course, we got to go through council and get approvals for starting the design, but we do have a building and facilities committee, Jeff sits on that, to go ahead and review these projects that we've identified in our capital improvement sales tax, especially when it comes to improvements to any of our buildings, City Hall being one of them as well. But that's already funded. So, but the other thing, I think that when you have that meeting, you can also identify different types of funding sources. Not everything has to come from the capital improvement sales tax. It's not that we're gonna kick this out and say, oh, we've got, $40 million worth of projects here, we're gonna fund this all with capital improvement. We can't.
Right.
We know
Right.
that. So the idea is identify the ones that we can, what are the top priorities there that we could do that, and then also identify the other sources of funding that you have, whether it's the grant, that Wayne's been able to get for like connecting the Riverfront Trail, stuff like that, those other funding sources that we can take a look at.
I think, Darren, we also, identify things in the presentation that we like and we don't like. Something that sticks out in my mind is they're recommending parking within the Millard Post, and I definitely oppose that.
So, for example, to use that as an example, I think when you guys have your own, it's a document that you guys are going to use. And
Right.
so you can go ahead and make those recommendations to edit the master plan after it gets out. Just because they get done with it doesn't mean we're finished.
Right.
You guys can go ahead and make your suggested edits of what you want to see either in or out of the document. And then the idea would be to take it to council for them for a resolution of support for that as well, if not even an ordinance to go ahead and adopt it. So,
Right.
but yes, you're going to have that and you should.
Right.
Well, we want to help get the sales tax, so, the more we know for our commission, I think the better off we can sell it.
I mean, one of the bigger projects, like I said, it's no secret, we've gone through a series of meetings now, is the senior center and what can we do out there with the auditorium. So that's a big ticket item that they've identified on there, and that's what we wanted them to focus on, one of the projects that we wanted. So there, you will have a estimate, as Wayne was talking about, that's definitely one of the projects where we will have an estimate, so we know going into that with the capital improvement sales tax, hey, here's a price tag of what it would be to do this.
But with that price tag, are you going west or are you going east?
Well, right now, they're showing that it's gonna go west, is what they've outlined in the thing.
But
But
isn't-
that's still up to, I mean, that's up to us to take a look at and say I think what they took in when they proposed that was trying to figure out what's the closest place you could put the parking
Yeah.
to
they
that,
went
all of those things, and a drive-through that you could go ahead, a roadway that would connect all the way over into the parking lot or down there by the pool. So that was all taken into consideration. But I mean, you could still, if somebody's got an idea that says, nope, that's not gonna work, we'd rather look at this, I mean, that's all ears.
You know, as a member of the tree board, you know, there's some beautiful trees over there that'll be in jeopardy.
I understand.
I can tell you, I questioned that too, and they didn't look, they explored the possibility of going east, but it was too cost prohibitive. It would add quite a bit of cost to the project to dig, the basement, the hole for the add-on
Yes, I
or the
mean-
wing.
Well, I just think, as the board, we should, when we set a date for this meeting, that you make every effort to come, because it is a document that hopefully the board and continue to follow or to be a part of, and so we need everybody's input on it. So, that's,
I think it's better almost to rank them sometimes without cost, right? What's important to get, what's important to chase, because like you said, some of them are gonna score better for grants than others, whether or not they're an
Right.
expensive project or they're not,
right,
so.
right. Okay.
Mayor has. You get the mayor.
Oh, yes.
Got copies if anybody wants to make a meeting and would like to see that particular thing about the auditorium renovation.
Okay.
Please. Thanks.
Okay. Trail connection?
All right. Yes, so we are getting, as I alluded to earlier, started on phase one, which is the bathroom renovation. We had a pre-bid meeting yesterday for that project, and we had seven contractors show up. And the bids are due February 25th. And we'll see how they come in, and then we'll get a bidder selected, a construction company selected, and take it to council and try to get going on this here early this spring. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the second part, the actual trail connection part, will be done later this year, should be done later this year, after October 1st, when our new fiscal year starts.
Okay, any questions? Under new business.
New business, so, Dave Waymeyer is up for, MPRA's Must Go Give Back Award. And so this, I just wanted to go over briefly, kind of just so you all know, the requirements for the award. So it has to be an individual, membership in MPRA, which being on this board, you have you're considered a member of MPRA. And then service, it says noteworthy contributions in the area of serving the underserved and the community or reducing barriers to access. This may include, but not limited to, a specific program or facility or any other unusual noteworthy effort to achieve one or more of the following goals through Parks and Recreation Services. And those goals would be increase access to programs and facilities, addressing environmental impacts, and engaging in underrepresented groups. So, and I submitted an application, and I got word at the beginning of January, I think it was, that Dave won, and I began working with his wife, and we were trying to figure out if it was going to be a surprise, and I figured I couldn't get Dave to Branson, Missouri without really telling him why he was going down to Branson, Missouri with the park director. And so we gave in and told him, and we're looking, that'll be next week, Thursday, the 20th. And so there'll be a number of us at the lake for this conference and for the award. So it's presented at our banquet that night, so there'll be a lot of people in attendance. Very, very cool award. I'm very excited, and Dave's very, very worthy of the award, that's for sure.
Congratulations, Dave.
Yep.
Thank you.
old pool house renovation?
Yes, so I was gonna make you aware, but Darren stole my thunder. We have
Darren.
money, partial, half the money for this project in the current fiscal year, which is about 194,000. And then next fiscal year, we'll have another 194, 95 or more, whatever the rough estimate comes in at, to do this project. But this is enough now to get going. As Darren mentioned, I put out an RFQ this week, and it's due at the end of this month to look for design firms. And I've had a number of them say, I sent it to a number of them directly, and it's advertised in the newspaper and on our city website too. But I had a number of the people I sent it to, directly to, say they were very interested and would be submitting an RFQ for the project. So we'll see
Is
how
that
that.
design and build, or just design?
This is just the design, the building, and then we'll have someone, a construction company or something, come in and build it, so. So more to come on that. That's exciting. I know staff and I have been waiting a long time for this to happen, so glad it's moving forward.
Okay, the pair buyback program?
These next three things, you all have flyers in your packet for. And so the pair buyback and then the free tree campaign, both those programs we did last year. The Cowrie Pear buyback is funded by the Hillerman Memorial Fund from when Mr. Hillerman passed away. The family had money, I believe, from the funeral home that was collected, sent to the Parks Department for trees. And Sandy and the family again agreed this year that that money could be used for this program. So that's good. And then the free tree campaign, Janie from Remax Realty, just down on Front Street, agreed to do the program again this year. And so we are running it a little bit longer this year in hopes to get more applicants. There have been articles in the paper already. It's been out on the city's social media, Parks social media. And so both very good programs. I hope people, newspapers ran it, KLPW is gonna run some stuff on it too. So I hope people take advantage of it. And then finally, I think we talked about it before. I don't know if you actually had a flyer or not, but in your packet, I believe that's in your packet, right? The Arbor Day, Earth Day flyer. So that's
it's
coming
in.
up in a couple months, and that's a little bit new this year. Just to remind you, it'll be down at Sunset on the riverfront this year, not at the farmer's market on a Saturday like we had been. It'll be a little warmer this year than probably when we've had it.
Terrible last year.
Possibly, which is usually in the mornings at farmer's market. So we'll need people to hopefully stand behind the booth and distribute educational material and freebies and all that good stuff.
Will that start at 5 o'clock, the giveaways?
Yes. Yep. We'll have some little free, like, saplings to give away. Josh is we're gonna order some from MDC to give away. Kind of the same setup we kind of normally do, just different location, different time.
Sounds good. Okay, at this point, does anybody have any questions they'd like to bring up that have not been covered under the agenda?
Got a question?
Oh, sorry, you want to come to the microphone, please? And state your,
Hello.
hey, state your name because we're.
Reekman,
Okay, thanks.
and I am currently a volunteer over at Phoenix, and I try and keep that pond cleaned up.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
a tough task.
Yeah. So I can talk to you about that later. My question has to do with the pear tree buyback. These trees here that I see are being given away, in my opinion, do not replace the pear trees. They're a feel-good, they're certainly nice shade trees, very beautiful. The pear tree is extensively used by the flocking robins. They swarm these trees in the month of December after the fruit has frozen and becomes palatable. It's an outrageously good mast tree for our resident robins who do not migrate. So what I would like to see added to this list, or maybe replaced, would be some native trees that would fit in the same niche in the food chain, such as Mexican plum. Okay, the robins aren't big fans of crabapple trees. In fact, I don't really know what they prefer over these pear trees. But
One
it
of the
would be-
biggest problems with the pear trees, it's hard to find a pear tree, excuse me, in a big size. You can find them in a 2 or 3 gallon, but it's hard to find them in a big size because they're just not available. It's not a tree that is desirable in some cases for the front yard. The bad thing about the pear trees is the fruit, yes, the robins do eat it, but then they spread the seed, and that's what the Conservation Department's trying to get rid of, that invasive species.
Yeah, I'm not sure what topic you're talking about. I'm talking about Mexican plum or something along those lines. I don't like the Bradford pears, or they're called something else, calories. Calories. I really don't like them. Okay, so we're on the same page there. What I do like is birds. And so there's quite a bit of effort, as an example, to uproot all of our honeysuckle, which I don't like. But that's only half the sentence. Uproot the honeysuckle and replace it with. Everybody I've talked to says, yeah, we're just gonna go dig it up. We're gonna uproot it. It comes up real easily, shallow rooted, we're gonna take care of that. Okay, well, that's half the equation. The honeysuckle is also a big mast plant for our robins all through the year, but especially after it gets cold and the fruit freezes. It turns into a nice, wonderful jam for all of these birds that go looking for it. So I had seen a posting by one of my cousins on Facebook. There's a chart out there that shows all of these native berries and fruits. And she is actively planting these in Louisville, Kentucky. And a friend of mine who's one of the local water keepers in the St. Louis area is actively doing the same in the Southside neighborhood in St. Louis, River des Peres area at the confluence with the Mississippi. So these plants are out there. I don't know, compared to what's on the list here, when I price these types of plants in a 5-gallon bucket, I think of over at Shaw, I don't know what they sell for, anywhere from $5 to $25, for a 5-gallon. I'm sure we're giving away small ones, and again, I like everything on here. I really, really do. Like them a lot.
I think that some of these trees that are on this list have also been reviewed. We have a tree committee. Are you familiar with our tree committee?
I was invited to join, and
Did you go? Have you gone?
I don't go because of adrenal fatigue.
Well,
Because of
I
what?
don't want to volunteer and be on any committees.
well, I'm just asking if you've gone and talked, because we get a lot of recommendations from those people, and they are extremely, extremely knowledgeable group of people who have worked as you said, at various areas, and so we kind of take, to some extent, their recommendations, because that's what they do. So my suggestion would be, maybe you could meet with them and just express your concerns, and they'll talk about trees and plantings, and then the outcome of that could be brought to the board or to whoever, and then we can go with that. Because we trust what these gentlemen say. And like I said, they work and have worked for many, many, many years with trees and plantings and native plantings. And so I would suggest, though I'm very glad you came to us, that you would go to one of their meetings and talk to them, and then you'd understand maybe why it is some of what it is, and then maybe from that we can, for future, because these trees are already done, right? I mean, we purchased these trees. These trees, we can't change it this year,
No, I wasn't.
but we can next year.
No, I figured it was time to speak up. I was just watching the program. I think it's a great program. As a matter of fact, everything you've chosen here probably is some of the greatest trees you can come up with to provide homesteads for a lot of the pollinators. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then as their larvae hatch, they become the biggest food supply for our songbirds.
Right,
From that perspective, what's on the list is perfect.
but for the robins,
But for the dead of winter, it's like, you know, the buffet is in the summertime and you're on your own in the winter. Which it's like, no, because robins typically don't like bird feeders, but last winter they came to mind. They don't.
we have hundreds at ours, robins.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's because there's not much out there.
there you go. Somebody
But-
that sees,
Right.
that sees what's going on out there. If they're coming to the bird feeder, things are out of bounds.
Well, I suggested after our meeting, because I don't mean to be rude about this, but there is another meeting that's going to start in 15 minutes. So we need to be done with our meeting so that the next meeting can take place. But please talk to Wayne about when the next tree committee meeting is, and go out and meet these gentlemen and talk to them. And I know that they would appreciate the knowledge that you're going to bring to them, and you will appreciate their knowledge.
Yeah, I think I met some of them at the last Arbor.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'll hang around if you're gonna.
Okay, any other questions, comments from the board about anything that we did not cover? So just remember that we're going to have special meetings sometime in March. Our next park board meeting will be March 12th. I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Bob and a second by Bob to adjourn, all right?
And Bob?
Bob and Bob. All right, everyone, have a good Valentine's Day. Thank you. And we'll, I know, and we'll